Are you ready to launch your podcast? It's time for Podcast Now with Restream, the live show that helps you plan, produce, and launch your podcast with the power of Restream. Here's your host, Ian Anderson Gray.
Well, hello. Welcome to episode 16 of Podcast Now with Restream. I'm very excited today. This is completely different. I'm in a different location. I'm in the Port of Tyne. I'm in the Innovation Hub at the Port of Tyne in the northeast of England. And I'm joined by Technology and Transformation Director, Dr. Joe North. So I'd love to know from you watching what your thoughts are when it comes to podcasting and live video for events. Please do get involved, ask us questions for myself or Joe, and we'll love to answer you live. And first of all, though, I'd love to know where in the world you are watching from, because we are global here. We are broadcasting to loads and loads of different channels using the power of Restream. Restream allows you to broadcast to lots of different channels all at the same time. In fact, over 30 different destinations, including Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, VK, I don't know, there's so many of them. And you can find out more by going to iag.me/Restream. As always, today I'm using Restream Studio, which is a web-based platform. So all you need is a browser. You don't need any complicated software. You just go to Restream in your browser. And as I say, you can broadcast to over 30 different destinations. You can have up to 9 guests on. You can highlight comments on the screen. You can put graphics and videos, all the kind of stuff that we're doing today. Now, there is a new cool feature, which I'm really excited about. It's called Restream Pairs. Now, as I said, you can bring in guests, up to 9 guests onto your show. And what Restream Pairs does, it allows your guests to broadcast your live show to their channels. So you don't have to share any passwords or anything dodgy like that. You just give them the link and then they can then share it to Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever their channels are, and get your message out to an even wider audience. It's really exciting. So do check out Restream at iag.me/Restream. Now, before I bring in Joe, I'm just seeing who we've got here. We have let's have a look. We've got the Fun Squad. That's a great name. Watching on YouTube. We've got the Body, Mind and Soul Project watching from Vancouver, Canada. And we've got Scott Silverstein watching from New York City. So, who else have we got here? This is exciting. We have Rafael Rodriguez watching from Panama. So do let us know where in the world you're watching from. And also, I'd love to know what device you're watching on. Are you watching it on a computer, phone, iPad? Let me know. So I think it's time to bring in Joe. And I'll tell you a little bit more about Joe here at the Port of Tyne. And I've known Joe for, I don't know, it's a couple of years at least, I think. But Joe is the Technology and Transformation Director here. And she, if I can find it, where's the bit? There we go. My notes have gone all over the place here. But her passion is to connect and engage the innovation community globally in collaborative conversations on digital technology and green growth. And I know, Joe, that you can tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do, but welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's so good to be here with you, and good to be here with you in person after all this time as well.
It does feel a little bit strange, but in an exciting way, to actually be in here in person, because Joe and I have been Zooming quite a lot over the last year and a half, but we haven't actually seen in person. Actually getting out of the house, getting up to South Shields is great. I enjoyed the journey up here. So tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do here. Tell us a bit more about the Port of Tyne and what it is that you do here.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So, well, I could say quite a lot about the Port of Tyne, so I'll try and give you a bit of an intro. But we're here in South Shields, which is near Newcastle in the northeast of England on the River Tyne. We've got about 300 people working here and we generate around 12,000 indirect jobs as well. So we actually help the economic growth of the region too. We've got all sorts of cargo coming through the port. We're a deep sea port, so we've got cars, containers, bulks. We are in renewable and offshore energy, and we've got our cruise and ferry terminal here as well. We provide the operations and maintenance home for Equinor that we're working on at the moment, creating that, becoming the base for the world's largest wind farm at Dogger Bank. And what's important to say as well, Ian, is that we are a trust port. And what that means is that we don't get any government funding or anything. We operate commercially, but we don't have shareholders. So everything we do is for the long-term benefit of the community, of the stakeholders that we have, for the benefit of the port. And I could keep speaking. We're very innovative. As you know, we hear about the Innovation Hub. We'll talk about that shortly. But if you're watching and if you'd like to know more and reach out and connect, then do have a look at Port of Tyne on LinkedIn. So, and we'll connect with you there, or Dr. Joe North, that's me on LinkedIn too. But it's so good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it is. And by the way, it's Tyne, Tyne, just in case you're from outside of the UK and you don't know about these things. But it's, and there was some kind of statistic about tea bags or something, wasn't there?
Yes, 10. So we actually, in our warehouse every year, we have enough tea to produce 10.2 billion tea bags, which is very important because I'm powered by tea.
Well, there we go. So I'd love to know from you watching. This is an incredibly important question. Are you powered by tea, coffee, or something else? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to know from you. Let's see who we've got watching live and if there are any questions from anyone. Let's have a look. We've got the Fun Squad is watching on a Mac. Well, we've got a plethora of different places. This is great. Body, Mind, and Soul Project is watching on an Android phone. We have Raphael watching on an iPhone. What's this here? Scott is watching on a Pixel 4 XL. Getting really specific there. And I think this is a question. So we love questions here. So the Fun Squad, is there a way I can record on my other YouTube account? So you probably need to give me a little bit more information there on what you're wanting to do. Oops, I've gone on to Joe there. But I mean, with Restream, what you can do is you can broadcast to as many YouTube accounts as you like. Obviously, it depends on the plan you're on, but you can broadcast to definitely more than one account. And one thing, if you're looking at recording only, then one thing that you can do in Restream is record only. But you can also, if you're wanting to do like a test stream or a private stream, you can stream to your YouTube account and just change the privacy settings to unlisted or private. But I'm not sure if I'm answering your question there, Raphael. The Fun Squad. Let me know. What else have we got here? What does that say? Scott says that's green. I'm not sure if you're talking about green tea or something or something else. I don't know. We've got MC Lito is here from Japan. Hi, guys. I'm on my MacBook Air M1 from home. That's very posh. Awesome. Right. Well, Joe, let's talk a little bit more about what have you been doing here in terms of the tech? And we're actually surrounded by a lot of tech here. Why podcasting and why live streaming? Because to me, this is the port. This would not be in the first place I think people would think about when it comes to live streaming and podcasting. So, and I know we are in the Innovation Hub. The clue is in the name. But tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing here and why podcasting and why live streaming.
Okay, so this is actually the first Innovation Hub in the UK. And we are here to really bring the maritime industry together to collaborate. We've got all sorts of shared challenges that we're working on jointly. And it's really important to bring people together. So we were founded in 2019. So we've just celebrated our second anniversary. And throughout that time, we've literally worked with thousands of people from hundreds of organisations, bringing people together to actually get real innovation projects off the ground. And of course, when COVID hit, we were actually meeting in this venue, meeting physically. We were doing some live streaming, but we just immediately took all our events and our collaboration online because we've been building a community. and sharing expertise and doing that globally. So what we're hoping to do moving forward, what we're planning on right now, and Ian, you've been helping us with this, so thank you for all the brilliant work you've been doing, because you're awesome, is we're going to be doing hybrid events where we've got a mix of people here in the Innovation Hub, but also people can join us from around the world. And with podcasting and so on, we can really connect and hear people's stories and go into more depth into what they're doing. So,
oh, that's awesome stuff. And I think you're right. I mean, as we move out of lockdowns around the world, and we're moving into some sense of normality, that there's still a little bit of concern. There are places in the world where there are still lockdowns. I think in Australia and New Zealand, and events are starting to happen, but there's still a bit of unease. And I know that a lot of places are thinking about these hybrid events, and so maybe smaller gatherings, but you're live streaming part of that. And so that seems to be part of what you're thinking about as well. But with podcasting, I mean, this show is obviously, we're called, it's Podcast Now. We talk about how you can launch your podcast from your live show, and I'm a massive fan of doing it that way, because I've admitted it before on this show. This is not news to you if you've watched this show before. I'm a recovering perfectionist. And the great thing about live is that it's the perfect antidote to perfectionism, because live is never going to be perfect. And it's a great way of creating that content. But why? I mean, I don't know if that's a reason why you would embrace live video, Joe, here at the Port of Tyne. But what are the other reasons why live video and podcasting are, why we should be embracing that, and why is it going to be beneficial to you here?
well, I think live video there's something authentic about just seeing people as they are and having conversations in real time. It's really important to make that connection, and feedback like we're doing here. It's absolutely, brilliant. It's brilliant to hear from everybody and to connect. And I think, you're right. Things can be a bit over perfect sometimes, and actually that's not the point. It's about sharing ideas. It's about having debate and discussion and getting that collaboration going. And I believe in repurposing as well. So people have different preferences in terms of the medium that they prefer to listen to or watch. And live streams make great podcasts. So sometimes I watch your live stream and I listen again on podcast. I see I'm a fan.
Glutton for punishment. That's what I was going to say.
You pick up different things, and you're really there in somebody's earbuds right there. And
I think you're right. And it's interesting. I'd love to know from you watching, what's your thoughts on this? Do you think we should be looking at standalone podcasts, or should we be creating podcasts from live streams like Joe and I are doing, and we advocate? And I personally, and I think you Joe, are the same, that as long as you do it really carefully, the fact that there is live interaction on a podcast, I think, can work really well. You've got to be really careful. If you spend too much time with your live audience, it can become, I think your podcast audience can feel left out. But it has this almost like a feeling of like a party atmosphere, a community. And this year for me is my year of community. It's really important. That's one of the big, powerful reasons. Another reason, we've talked about loads of reasons why live streaming is so important, but that's another reason, a community as well. So thank you, Joe. Let's have a look at some comments. So the Fun Squad clarifies here, saying, I don't record a lot, I stream a lot. Awesome. So yes, I mean, with Restream, you can stream to more than one YouTube channel. You can do it unlisted, you can do private, you can do public. Absolutely. I'm clicking the wrong button here. Where is it? There we go. Too many buttons. MC Lisa says, love your setup there. Well, I have to say, it's not just down to me. Ian at the back, Ian Blake, has been doing an amazing job helping us setting up, and Joe as well. So really excited about what we're going to be doing here. Question from Scott. If you want to stream right from an event such as the starting line on a race, would you consider using 2 laptops? Personally, I would just use one computer, but use multiple cameras. So as long as your computer is powerful enough and you've got decent cameras, you can, at the moment, we're actually only using one camera. But before we were testing out using 3 or 4 cameras. So Yeah, I would just use one computer that you can control from there and do it that way. Definitely. Scott says there is no normality in New York City. Well, I couldn't possibly comment. Uh, will there be more video clips? Unfortunately, I don't think so. We could play that again. That was a great video clip from Port of Tyne earlier. So maybe we'll find some more for another time. And MC Lita also says, I think keeping your podcast audience in mind is important. Is a great way to get the most out of live streaming. And I think you're right. It's, as I've said before, you've got to think of there are actually three audiences that you've got to think about when you're doing it this way. You've got your live audience. You want to make them feel happy. You watching live. It's great you're asking questions. We love you asking questions and getting involved. But of course, there are the people from the future. These are, if you're watching the replay, and if you are watching the replay, why don't you put hashtag replay so we know you are watching the replay? And then, of course, you've got the podcast listeners, and they are from the future. The other difference is your live viewers, very much a community feel. You know that there are other people watching live, so it feels like you're part of the crowd. Replay, you're watching on your own, very intimate experience. And then podcasting is in the future, but it's listening only, so you can't see what's on the screen. And again, it's an intimate experience. So Fun Squad says I do Roblox. If I did Roblox, I would probably do nothing else. I'd get addicted to it. So it's a good job I don't do that. Anyway, enough of all of that. Thank you so much. If you've got any more questions, everybody, let me know. That would be great. So what was my next question I was going to ask you, Joe? Let's talk about the tech, I think. Let's talk about the tech, because the first question I suppose I'd ask is, did you get all the tech that you see around us? Did you suddenly get it one day, right at the beginning, and it all set up and it was all great, or not?
No, we didn't. So how we started was through Zooming. I think most
Yeah.
people did Zooming or Teams, and no webcams particularly. And then we sort of just have built it from there. So I have another hat. So one of my hats is I'm Technology and Transformation Director here and lead on the Innovation Hub. But I've also got another hat, which is I have a business that I've been running for 11 years or so, and I've been live streaming through that business. So it was about transferring a bit of that into what we do here at the Innovation Hub. So from a technology point of view, we have started to build it up and grow in confidence. And Ian, you've been a massive part of that journey. And now we really want to go to the next level with the creativity and confidence of what we do, which is why we've now invested. And Ian's been here helping us get it set up and helping us use it properly, which is invaluable. So
Well, I think this is the important thing is, to get started with live streaming, you don't need much stuff. You can start simply. You can start on one of these things. It's called a smartphone. You can start off broadcasting to Facebook that way. And actually, Restream Studio works on smartphone. It works better on a computer, and I think that's the next level. Moving on to broadcasting from your computer. Restream Studio makes it so simple. So again, you don't need the complicated software. As long as you've got a computer, decent internet speed, you'll be fine with that. And but what we've got today is exciting. We've got the Rodecaster Pro. We can't show you it. It's just over there. We've got Stream Deck. We're using a Mac. These are, what are they called again? Procaster or
Rodecaster Pro, yes,
I always
something
get
like that.
Rodes
Yeah.
don't make it easy because we've got the Rodecaster Pro. But anyway, these are Rode microphones. These are dynamic microphones, which is important, I think, when you're doing having an interview, because we don't want there to be too much microphone bleed. So we don't want Joe's microphone to be picking up me, because otherwise you'll hear me twice. And Stream Deck and all that kind of stuff. And we've got some lighting as well. But this is stuff that we've been setting up today, and it's great fun to do, and I think it does level things up quite a bit.
And I love Restream. I love the fact that we can reach people on multiple platforms as well, and record things. So doing some practicing with recording, and so you can just use Restream if you just want to record something. It doesn't have to go live. So really loving it, and it's so
Yeah.
easy to use, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't. You don't need to go live. So if you're either scared of going live, but maybe you're just wanting to do it for podcasting or for recording for later, then you can just use Restream on its own. And if you want to get really geeky, we've talked a lot about Restream Studio, which is web based, but you can use other software with Restream. So you could use, if you're a Mac user, you could use Ecamm Live. If you're a PC user, you could use OBS Studio, and you can broadcast, you can send the signal from those tools over to Restream. So you can use those as like a switching tool. So it allows you to play videos. So I could load up a video and change cameras and all that kind of stuff, and then send that to Restream. And then Restream magically sends that across all the different channels, as we talked about as we talked about earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely love Ecamm Live as well, and particularly for screen sharing and what we do we use a lot of Miro virtual whiteboards and things like that in sessions. So
Yes.
really cool.
It is cool. It is cool. So yeah, loads of different things that you can do. And by the way, actually, you can share your screen in Restream Studio as well. So it's definitely possible to do. And if you want to have multiple cameras, if you want to do it, it is possible. But the way you would do it is actually bring yourself in as a guest, if that makes sense. So lots of things you can do. And of course, you've got Restream Pairs as well. Let's have a look at the comments. So we've got let's have a look at this, if I can read the screen. YM News watching on YouTube. I want to stream in-app. So Restream can work. And the advantage with using a tool like Restream is you can do things like what I'm doing at the moment. I can highlight comments on the screen. You can't really do that on native Facebook, for example. There's adding graphics and videos and things like that. Who else have we got here? Oh, so VM News is watching from, is that Bengaluru? Is that, if I'm pronouncing that right? I hope I am. And, tell me where in the world that is. And then MC Lito says, I'm going to attend an indie game conference in Kyoto the day after tomorrow. Might be using Restream on my iPhone with Prism to do on location interviews. I'd love to know more. Let me know a bit more about what you're going to be doing. And apparently it is called Bit Summit. That sounds cool. Are you going to be going to any conferences or any events anytime soon, Joe?
No, they're all sort of hybrid, I think. So
Yeah.
we can join online. And I think people are thinking differently about, do we really need to travel all that way? There's something about the time and the return on investment in travel time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and expense.
Do you think, though, I mean, this is kind of, I wasn't going to ask you this question, but I think it's an important question. Do you think hybrid events or virtual events are going to be anywhere near as good as an in-person event?
Well, I've worked with about 3,000 plus people over since before lockdown started. And actually, there are people who prefer doing
Yeah, I think
things
you're right.
virtually for all sorts of reasons. And then there are people who prefer being in person, So I think those preferences will remain. It's part of, personality preference, really. But actually, if you can do a really, really good hybrid or virtual event, I think you're onto a winner, because you can do so much with it. And you can engage with people who just wouldn't travel or wouldn't be able to get there, which is fantastic too.
I think you're right about that. And I helped produce an event last year that was going to be in person, but ended up being virtual. And a lot of people said it was one of the best conferences they'd ever been to. It was like really shocking. I wasn't expecting people to say that. Now you could argue, okay, this was in the middle of lockdown and anything could be better than that. But I don't think it was that. I think it was if you think really carefully about making it, replacing the bits about a real conference, like the networking and the fun part of it, you can do a lot of that virtually as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, have you been, if you're watching live or the replay, have you been to any conferences recently virtually that have done a good job? And what is it about them that made it special? So you were going to say.
I think it's a couple of things. It's about the planning.
Yeah.
And really thinking through the delegate experience, the participant experience. And it's about great content, things that people just can't get anywhere else, or conversations they can't have anywhere else, things they can learn. And the tech is so brilliant now; it just makes it it's really intuitive and really accessible.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And where does multi-streaming come into this? So we've talked about with Restream, you can broadcast in more than one place at the same time. Some people might say that's a bit of a gimmick. I mean, what to you? Why do you think that's a good thing? And why is it here at the Innovation Hub at the Port of Tyne, you'll be embracing multi-streaming?
I think it's about meeting customers, stakeholders, participants, wherever they are and on their preferred platform. So, by having good coverage for different platforms and multi streaming, you can actually reach people where they prefer to be and connect everybody as well.
Yes.
So, a comment across from YouTube onto to LinkedIn or wherever is really, really great, I think. So,
Yeah.
and also different people around the world have different preferences for which platform they prefer too. So it's about connecting with as many people as possible in as good a quality a way as we can.
I think you're right. And it will obviously depend on your audience and where you're looking to, who you're wanting to reach. But I mean, one of the things about Restream, which is great, is there are networks like VK. Now, I'm broadcasting to VK at the moment, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. I rarely get anyone watching on VK. It's a Russian network. I don't think I'm that well known in Russia at all, but uh, I do it anyway because it's fun. But you may have a big or potentially a big audience in Russia, or you might have a big audience in Japan or other places. And believe it or not, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn are not the biggest network in all countries of the world. So the great thing about Restream is if you are wanting to reach audiences around the world, you have got the ability to broadcast to those different destinations. So thank you, MC Lito, who's saying it's a little bit more about the event that you're going to. So apparently it's a hybrid event, but I was invited since I live in Japan. Well, that's great. And you've also got a question. We love questions on the show with a free Restream account. So there are different plans. There's a free account and some paid ones. With a free Restream account, does Facebook do 1080p or do you need a pro account? And so I believe with the free version that you can't do 1080p. I think you do need to have a paid version. But the problem mainly is Facebook, because for most of us mere mortals, we can only do 720p. So that's not the full high definition glory that you get on, for example, YouTube. So yeah, I mean, I would do some experiments, but most people are still getting 720p, which, to be honest, is fine. I mean, I LinkedIn is still only 720p, and I think a lot of people say that the quality on LinkedIn, despite that, is great quality. So I hope that answers your question. My advice is just keep doing, just playing around, doing some experiments and find out what works for you. So yeah, let us know. I think you've got some more comments, but we'll get back to you in a bit. So podcasting, Joe. What are your thoughts about how you're going to be using podcasting, particularly when it comes to live streaming? And we were talking about this, the setup we've currently got here is very much, we're not making this into a podcast, but actually we could. We've got these lovely dynamic microphones here. Have you thought much about the setup that you want for recording podcasts, and how are you going to repurpose it? Because I know although podcasting is very much audio only, you are thinking about having the cameras rolling.
That's right.
So tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, at the moment, what we've been doing is actually trying to play around with the format, because we want it to be more of a conversation of peers sort of being, really passionate about innovation, and we've been playing around with that. But I think there's something with pre-recorded, which is great. But with live, there's an energy. There's an energy. You know that there are people there watching and listening in real time, and I think that creates a really different sort of spirit to the whole
Yeah.
thing. And it's great to bottle that into the podcast recording by taking the live audio and the live video. You can get the very best from that. I think it's helpful as well to trim out a few bits, from the podcast. So don't just take the live audio raw, but we're hoping to tidy it up a little bit. But apart from that, it's going to be pretty much as is we broadcast, just to capture that energy of being with people for real in real time.
I think that's so true, because I think the temptation is, I mean, at the moment, we're live. We've got you lovely people watching us. And if we didn't have you here, we would just be having a conversation on our own. And there's something lovely about that. That's a very intimate experience. I think that can work really well on podcasting. But I personally, and I think you're the same, Joe, love that extra layer. We've got live audience. And actually, I've prepared questions for Joe, but quite often you watching live have got better questions than me. So, I can add those and add that to the mix. And also, I think it means that people who are watching or listening to the podcast, if they know that this is a live show or it's a video, they're more likely to actually want to get involved for later as well. So do you think that's part of the reason for you as well?
It is. It's really about building, a community of people who are interested in listening to each other, learning, sharing, and and if you can see people as well, if there's the option to see people having the conversation, then why not have it visually as well as on audio too?
Definitely. Now, one of the things you can do is once you're using Restream, you can then go into the video. I've showed this before, so I'm not going to show it again now. But you can go into the recording section of Restream, and you can download the video to repurpose. And if you have a remote guest, you've also got the ability to download the separate audio tracks. An amazing tool that I've used before, and it's like a perfect marriage between Restream and this other tool called Descript. And I love Descript because what you can do, you can download your video, bung it into Descript, which works on Macs and PCs. And what it will do is it will then transcribe all of your audio into text using AI. You can pay for real humans to do it as well, but it does a pretty good job. Even will identify different speakers. And then you can go in and you can edit it. Have you used Descript, Joe, yet?
No, I haven't. I've used Otter.ai,
yes,
which is okay. But I'm going to use Descript because I think give that a go because it sounds a lot better.
Well, Otter.ai is great, but that is in a sense all it does. It just transcribes it. What Descript does, yes, it transcribes it. But then what you can do is you can then go in and look at the text and think, oh, I don't need that. So you can just remove that from the text, and then it removes it from the audio file and from the video. You might have said lots of ums and ers. I mean, how many ums and ers have we said today? I don't want to think about it.
Me more than you, I think.
I don't know. But if you say a lot of ums and ers, I don't think it matters too much in live, but for podcasting, you might want to reduce the amount of ums and ers. So there's a little button in Descript. You can click on it and it will remove all your ums and ers. Something that's really scary is this feature called overdub, which will actually, you have to train Descript with this, but it will actually change the words. How do I put this? Say, for example, I said, I love bananas. And then I thought about it afterwards. I thought, no, I don't actually like bananas. I prefer apples. I should have said apples. So you go in, you change the word bananas to apples, and it will speak the word apples in your voice. How scary is that? It's called overdub. So you might want to check that out. But the great thing about that is you can edit your videos and your podcasts really easily. You don't need to be a techie. And then you can then upload that back to Restream and stream that as a live show, as if it were a live show. So there's a great feature there. I can see that MC Lito is saying Descript is, what did you say here? Is amazing, game changer. I would totally agree with you there. And also, I love this comment. I like your comments about multi-streaming. Brilliant. I was afraid to multi-stream since I wanted to mainly focus on growing my YouTube channel. And I would say when you're first starting out, I'd love to hear what Joe thinks about this in a minute, but I think you could broadcast to like 18 channels like I'm broadcasting. Well, I think I'm broadcasting to 16 channels. For most people, that is total overkill. If you're starting off, broadcast to one channel. But once you've got your confidence, then add one or two more channels. Most people are going to be broadcasting to 2 or 3 channels. That might be YouTube, it might be LinkedIn, it might be Facebook, but maybe you want to add Twitter later, or you have a guest on and you can stream to their channels as well. So take it slowly. The important thing is you might be broadcasting to all these different channels, but do make sure you're looking at the comments and you're making your live audience feel special, because I don't know, Joe, have you watched any live shows before where the person doing it is just not looking at the comments? And how does that make you feel?
It feels frustrating, and particularly when I've commented, you're sort of waiting for your thing to be answered, unless there's like hundreds and hundreds of comments popping up all the time. So I think it's really important to acknowledge, why go live if you're not going to listen and acknowledge and respond to what people are saying and how they're contributing. So I think that's super important. In terms of one channel or multiple channels, I think it's fairly straightforward and easy to broadcast to multiple channels, to stream to multiple at the same time, but maybe spend the engagement effort on the channel, more on the channels you want to build when you're offline, if that makes sense.
No, that's really, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think it's so easy to become a bit of a one-way communication machine. Now, we've already taught on live, it's important to engage with the audience. So that's already you not being just a one-way communication machine. You're listening, but it's not just about broadcasting, is it? It's about engaging.
Yeah.
So what is it you do? I mean, do you have like a routine when it comes to engaging with comments and community building? Because presumably for you, it's not just communicating one way.
No, there's no point doing live stuff, or in fact any stuff, even if it's just a straightforward social media post, if you're not going to engage with the people who are aiming to reach out and engage. So every single comment, every single like, it's really about recognizing that and valuing that, and popping over sometimes on somebody else's, on their stuff, and getting involved in what they're doing. It's relationship building, certainly from our point of view.
Yeah, it is absolutely vital. And actually, when it comes to, I'm going to use a horrible, nasty word now. It's called the algorithm. When it comes to the algorithm, broadcasting to Facebook or YouTube, it's, gone are the days when your video is going to be out. It's going to go to all your fans on Facebook and YouTube. It's Facebook and YouTube and all these channels, they've got a job on their hands because there's just too much stuff. People are creating too much content for them to be able to handle. Your feed, you do not want your feed on Facebook or YouTube or any of these channels to have everything you follow, because you're just not going to find the thing that you want. So when it comes to the algorithm, Mark Zuckerberg years ago said that one of the factors when it comes to live video is the number of reactions. And reactions is things like likes and loves, and shares is a big one. If people are sharing out, it must be good. Or comments. They want to create these like mini little kind of, I don't know, is the word ecosystem? That's a bit of a big word, isn't it? I like that, ecosystem. So we'll use that in your broadcast. So yeah, try and find ways to build your engagement. And we've talked about that on this show. Even when it comes to podcasting, you do want to create to build that engagement. Now, I can see comment from Matthew. Brilliant tutorials for music. So there's an exclamation mark. So brilliant tutorials. Thank you. For music and live sound, external mixers and a great mic preferred. It depends on your budget. So I started my live streams very, very simply. This was back in 2015. I just had a very simple webcam. I had a Logitech C920, I think, and had a Blue Yeti microphone. You plug it into your computer via USB. It looks nice, looks the biz. It's a condenser microphone. So the good thing about a condenser microphone is that it picks up not just, this is a dynamic microphone. So if I go away here, if I start speaking, you won't be able to hear me so well. If I go here, you can hear me. But with a condenser microphone, it picks up the sound further away. And that is good for music and live sound to a point. But if you want to really level things up, then obviously a mixer and multiple microphones are going to help because you can mic up every single instrument and every voice. So it really, in order to answer your question, Matthew, it kind of depends on what you're trying to record. In terms of music, how many musicians are involved? But absolutely, the most important thing, I think, is the microphone. The other important thing is the treatment of the room. So the room we're in at the moment could potentially be quite echoey, but because we're using these dynamic microphones, hopefully you don't hear too much echo. And we're using the Rodecaster Pro. Big advantage with the Rodecaster Pro is that it's got built-in audio processing, so it can remove a lot of the background noise and echoes and all that kind of stuff. And actually, Restream has echo cancellation as well. So yeah, there we go. Lots and lots of stuff to think about there. So Joe, what's the next thing with you guys here? What are you going to be working on? We've set a lot of the stuff up here. We're going to be going through actually how to use all the software using Restream, the Stream Deck, and all this kind of cool stuff. Once we've set all the tech up, what's next?
The next is to get on with our live streaming with special guests from all over the world, as well as locally too, and from within the port. We want to do some stuff out and about, so in situ. I think it's great that we're here, and it would be really nice, probably technically a bit more challenging from a sound point of view,
Yes,
but to get out on the quayside and into our operations and talk about some stuff out there as well. So that's the next level up after this one. So we've got a bit of a roadmap, and it's really exciting, actually.
I love that. I love having a roadmap, and I think this is what we should all have. Just it's very important, I think, to start simply, because if you might have all these grand plans, but there's more that could go wrong. It can be potentially expensive, and then you don't know what you're doing, you procrastinate. But you've got this roadmap. I love that you're starting up, but you've got these visions for the future. And I love the idea, going out and about. It's kind of funny though, isn't it, that because of technology like we've got with Restream Studio, it is a lot easier, isn't it, to bring in guests remotely. We had to really think about this today, because this is something very rare for me. I do all my interviews remotely, and here I am actually physically next to Joe, and we had to think about the microphones and how it would all work, but it's working quite well.
Great.
I
It's
like
great.
this.
It's nice to do it like this as well.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is that we're just going to get started and do some stuff and learn, because you don't learn unless you put anything out there and try things and get better from where we are. So just starting, sometimes taking a deep breath and having a go with a few different things.
Yeah, you're dead right. And I've been speaking to quite a few clients recently who have been, how do I put it in a polite way? They've been procrastinating about it and thinking, oh, well, I need to get it perfect first. If you're doing that, don't do it. And the reason that I can say this to you is because I've been there too. I didn't go live for a whole month because I felt that my background wasn't very good and my picture wasn't good. What I was doing, I was comparing myself with other people. And we're all on a journey, aren't we? We're all on this journey. You've got to forget about all of that, because the most important thing, and I'm sure you would agree with me, Joe, is the most important thing is the message that you're putting out. And I'm going to put you on the spot now. What is the message you want to put out here at the Port of Tyne, the Innovation Hub?
That we can innovate better together, and it's about collaboration, and that we're open to talk. We want to talk, we want to connect, and I think that's what it's about. It's about content, and it's about connection as well, because we've all got similar challenges, and it's not just in the maritime industry; it's everywhere. We're looking at digital technology, we're looking at decarbonisation, and the green agenda, and they're things that we can solve better together.
I love it. She's good. She's good. I knew she'd be able to answer that question. So Matthew says, awesome. Thank you. My pleasure. I would love to know though, Matthew, what is it you're wanting to do? Because I'm an ex-musician, professional classical singer. That's my background. So I'm always interested in that kind of side of things. And MC Lito, what are you saying here? Clarity comes from doing. Just do it. Oh, yes. I love that. I agree with that.
I agree with that.
We just don't procrastinate. Just do it. So, Joe, I love what you're doing here. I really do. And as I said at the beginning, I think to a lot of people, they wouldn't expect a place like the Port of Tyne to embrace things like live video. And I have worked with, I've got corporate clients, and actually I think most of my clients are very innovative, but let's be frank, I think a lot of people assume that corporates are not very innovative. and are not thinking about things like live streaming, why should a corporate innovate using live video and podcasting?
I think it's about how they want to connect with customers, potential employees, stakeholders. In our case, innovators as well, small to medium-sized businesses who've got great ideas, other ports around the world. It's about being human and making connections. And
Mm,
I think that's important to any corporate. I think sometimes it's probably the fear of not getting it right or not being on message or those sorts of things maybe put some corporates off going live. But I think if you know your stuff, if you are clear on why you're doing things and who you want to connect with and why and what you want to do with that,
yeah.
then absolutely why not? And I think it's a great opportunity. It's the way the world is going. We're getting so much better connected. The technology enables this, so let's take advantage of it and make the world a bit smaller together.
Absolutely. I mean, just it is about putting the people behind the brand, behind the corporate. I mean, it's a very different kind of company, but I remember when Virgin Trains was a thing, and they actually did quite a few very silly. I suppose it is the brand. Virgin Trains did do quite a few kind of like fun and silly things, but you very much saw the people behind it,
Yeah,
and I think that's one of the things when it comes to a corporate. Uh, it can look like this faceless entity, and so I love what you're doing here with that.
thank you.
And with when it comes to bringing in guests around the world, have presumably you're going to have to come up with some kind of process with that, because guests around the world aren't all going to be that used to going on a podcast
No,
or going on a live show. I mean, my job is easy because on my show, on this show and other shows I do, I tend to interview people who know what they're doing when it comes to this. But presumably, you're going to have people who don't quite know what
yeah,
they're doing.
and they could be down. They could be down the road
Yeah,
as well as the other side of
yeah,
the
yeah.
world who don't. So, a few practice runs. Making it really clear, making people feel super comfortable and prepared as well, but without losing that spark of being in the
Mm.
moment. I think is important.
I think you're right. It is about being real, and I think empathy is a really important emotion here, because I still feel nervous. I still get nervous before I don't know about you, Joe, but my tummy was fluttering a little bit beforehand. And when that happens, I actually celebrate that. I think that's a good thing. First of all, I think it's means it's going to be a better live, because I think you can learn to channel that nervous energy in front of the camera. What you don't want is to be so comfortable that you're just like laid back like this and yeah, everything's that's not good. You've got to have a combination of those two things. So I think it's going to be great. We've got a few other comments. Matthew is saying, let's have a look what Matthew's saying. Well, I'm doing tutorials and demos karaoke style. I started to do music appreciation series on YouTube and want to capture excellent sound. Well, it's not just music. I think that's great. That's really important that you are, particularly when it comes to music, that you can capture excellent sound. By the way, in Restream, you've got the ability to, in the advanced settings, to change it to stereo sound. So for music, you're going to want it stereo. And YouTube, Facebook, and I think most of the channels now will cope with that. And you will also want to turn off echo cancellation, because that does weird things to sound. So do some testing. But yes, I think microphones is going to be really important, getting a decent microphone. But I don't know what you think, Joe. One of the things I think is so important to invest in is the audio. The imagery, the video, the cameras can look absolutely amazing, but if the sound isn't any good, you're going to switch off, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I do personally when the sound's bad, which is a real shame because
Mm.
sometimes the content
It's great.
might be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so investing in great sound is really important, and I like doing some of the vocal warm ups as well that
Yes.
I've seen you do. So sound is super
Yeah, yeah.
important. Yeah,
It is. It kind of makes me laugh when people, and we did this before, people go out and buy their 4K TV, but they're watching a movie through the little tinny speakers. Whereas I think if you plug in a subwoofer, that's where, anyway, that's me going off at a tangent. I think that's important. What does, let's have a look. Matthew is saying, as well, I do song analysis of the different artists from different genres and the music impact. Sounds awesome. Wonderful. So cool. Well, I think we are almost out of time. If you've got any more questions for myself or for Joe, it can be anything to do with technology, multi-streaming, podcasting, marketing. It can be to do with innovation and corporates and how they can embrace live video. But have you got any final thoughts just before we finish, Joe, on what we've been talking about today?
Just to say a huge thank you for having me today and having the Port of Tyne and being here with us and for all your help with this. And I would love to, connect with anyone who's interested in what we're doing. So Dr. Joe North on LinkedIn, Port of Tyne also on LinkedIn, and connect with both of those, and we'll look forward to connecting with you in the future. Yeah,
definitely. And LinkedIn Live is a platform that is really growing. I'd love to know from you, are you using LinkedIn Live? Have the LinkedIn gods given you access? Because at the moment, unfortunately, still, it is currently in beta, or if you're in America, beta, and we just have to wait for the LinkedIn gods to give us that. But don't worry, just keep applying. If you are waiting, I don't know how many times it took for you to get,
the Port of Tyne was pretty quick. It
Oh,
was the
that's
first go. For me, as my business, it's taken a good 18 months plus, but they're now doing the first one on Thursday.
Apparently, so I hear it is getting a little bit easier. I think they are widening it out, but most people I speak to, it's about 4 or 5 times before you get it. But that's just one of those things. And I think if you, I do really like LinkedIn Live. Do you ever watch any LinkedIn Lives? Or
I do, yeah. I do.
Yeah.
I watch yours, obviously. So and I watch others too. So it depends who it is and how good the content is.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well, as we were saying before, the sound is really important as well. So just make sure you don't make it sound like you're broadcasting it from a bathroom, which I've definitely heard before. Well, I think we are. I think we're done here. It's been great to spend some time with you, Joe, and I wish you all the best here.
Thank you.
Do check out Joe. Just go to just search you. You're on all the socials, I think. Dr. Joe North. That's J-O and then North as in the opposite of South.
It is.
And the Port of Tyne as well, which is Tyne. So do check out the Port of Tyne on LinkedIn. And I'm going to say goodbye to you now. It's been great to see you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching the replay. Do check out Restream at iag.me/Restream. Let me just put it up on the screen. iag.me/Restream. You get a free month and you can play around with all the cool features. And do check out Restream Pairs. It's something I'm really excited about. It works within the browser in Restream Studio, but it also works, if you're being very fancy, with RTMP. So if you're doing OBS Studio or Ecamm Live or another platform, it also works through there as well. My name is Ian Answer Gray. I'm from the Confident Live Marketing Academy, and you can find me at iag.me. And it's been great to have you here today. Well, that's it from me. And I encourage you to not launch your podcast next week or the week after. You need to do it now. Let's do it. I'll see you soon. Toodaloo.